Without further ado, I would introduce our first presenter, Hui Xian, from LTA Active Mobility.
Hi.
They were, she will be sharing more on the portable inspection device for motorized active mobility. Without further ado, Hui Xian, you may proceed to share. Thanks.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah, hi. I'll start my presentation now. Yeah, so good afternoon to all. Yeah, thanks for the interest in the Singapore Mobility Challenge. I'm Hui Xian from the LTA Active Mobility Group, and I'm here with my colleagues from the enforcement team to share more about the challenge that we hope to address in this event, which is to have a portable inspection device for motorized active mobility devices. So here's our challenge statement. How might we build a portable device to determine if active mobility devices, including gyroscopic and non-gyroscopic motorized personal mobility devices, are compliant with the weight, width, and maximum motorized device speed criteria? So to provide some background, users of active mobility devices are to ensure that their device complies with LTA's device criteria before riding them on public paths. So the device criteria includes the maximum weight of 20 kg, the maximum device speed of 70 cm, and maximum motorized device speed of 25 kilometers per hour, which for motorized devices, which means PMDs and e-bikes, and compliance with the UL 2272 safety standards for all motorized PMDs, be it e-scooters, hoverboards, or unicycles. So LTA conducts regular enforcement checks on the ground to ensure that all active mobility device users comply with the device requirements. And as a further safeguard to prevent the use of modified or non-compliant devices, since 1st April 2020, existing registered e-scooters declared as UL 2272 compliant will be called for inspection at LTA's authorized e-scooter inspection centers to verify that their devices comply with the 4 device criteria. And similarly, it is a requirement for retailers to ensure that new e-scooters are inspected and registered prior to sale. So this slide shows the types of active mobility devices in Singapore. They are regulated by LTA in terms of device criteria. It includes the conventional bicycle at the top left, as well as the power-assisted bicycle, the e-scooter, the self-balancing e-scooter on the right, which comes with a detachable handlebar, hoverboard, electric unicycle, and electric skateboards. Other than the conventional bicycles, all motorized active mobility devices, be it gyroscopic or non-gyroscopic, are only allowed on cycling paths. And for e-bicycles, they are allowed on cycling paths and roads. So in order to use a power-assisted bike on the road, one will need to wear a helmet. So going back to our challenge statement, to determine compliance with device criteria, we understand that some of the retailers make use of different equipment to measure wherever possible, and as well as documentation provided by device manufacturers for verification, as seen on this slide. So for weight, right, one may use a commercial weighing scale, and for width, one may use a measuring tape, and for speed, one may refer to the device specifications to determine that a device is compliant with the maximum speed limit set by LTA. However, our understanding is that there's currently no single solution or device in the market that can measure these 3 aspects relating to AM device criteria for motorized PMDs. And for UL 2272, one will refer to the certification mark that is affixed on the device by the manufacturer to ensure its authenticity, so that it's UL 2272 compliant. So given that there is currently no single solution or device in the market that can measure the device speed, width, and weight, we believe that there is a potential market for this portable inspection device. And this will include industry players, which not only comprises of retailers, but also device rental companies and companies that may rely on active mobility devices for work purposes. Also, device owners, especially users with multiple user or device fanatics, academies studying mobility devices, and last but not least, LTA enforcement team for enforcement on the ground. So for this product, there are some usability factors that we'll definitely need to consider. So as mentioned in the challenge statement, the device has to be one that is portable, which means that it can be easily maneuvered and lifted by an adult user for ease of use, and can be easily operated using batteries instead of a separate power source like electric socket, so that users such as retailers can bring the inspection device around to check on devices. It should also be compact, meaning it should easily fit into the boot of a car and foldable for easy and quick setup. As for the display, the equipment should display the weight, width, and speed measurements without having to plug into a separate PC or monitor. And information can be stored, retrieved, and printed to present to authorities when needed. It is also important for the measuring capabilities to be tamper-proof and accuracy of these measurements to be of a standard where it can be submitted as evidence in court if required. And as mentioned in the challenge statement, the device must be able to test for all types of active mobility devices for compliance with the weight, width, and speed requirements. And this applies for both gyroscopic and non-gyroscopic PMDs, conventional bicycles, or motorized devices. It should be durable, built to be hard-wearing, shock-resistant, and robust. It should be easy to operate and ergonomically designed, and users can perform the test safely, accurately, and efficiently. It should be user-friendly, and last but not least, a layperson must be able to operate this equipment with minimal training if required. So I've come to the end of my presentation. So, and we welcome any questions on the floor. Yeah, and I apologize if you are unable to take in all the questions today, and do feel free to leave a message with Pada and we will try to address them separately. Yeah, thank you.
So I guess my first questions that came in through there is where can we find the slides being presented? We will prepare the slides and send it to you in a separate email later on. So feel free to reach out and we will definitely get it to you. Yeah. So I think, Nathaniel, you posted a couple of questions along the way in the general chat. If we could, trouble you to post it in the Q&A session, Q&A tab, then it will be really helpful. Next question from David. How many of these devices are expected to be purchased?
Yeah, so you mentioned that how many of these devices are expected to be purchased? Okay, so as I mentioned in the slides, right? So actually our current understanding is that there is no single solution in the market that is able to measure all three aspects. And we believe that there is a potential user base, not just LTA, but also the industry itself. But as to how many devices are expected to be purchased, I think more market scan will need to be done. Yeah. And for your second question, for LTA stakeholders, what is the plan for active mobility options for allowing four-wheel e-bikes in Singapore? So I think to be very candid, so for now, right, our focus is definitely on two-wheel and three-wheel devices to ensure that these devices are able to serve the short trip needs of people and yet and still remain safe for pedestrians as well as motorists. So given that four-wheel e-bikes and pedal-assisted bikes are much bigger, wider, and likely to exceed our device criteria for current active mobility devices, our sense is that naturally pedestrians and commuters will be concerned. So we will need to look into the safety aspects for this before planning anything else. Yeah. Will there be a need to transport non-human cargo? So right now we understand that there are also trials on the use of active mobility devices to transport products as well. But as for cargo, I'm not sure if you refer to like bulky cargo, which might need much bigger equipment, which may probably be beyond the e-scooters and electric bicycles that we are having here right now. Any range for payload sizes? Sorry, can someone clarify what is payload sizes in this context?
Perhaps the person who's asking this question can elaborate a bit more. Whether is it typing in to say that what do you mean by payload sizes? Are you referring to the cargo size? Are you saying that it should? Because I think currently what Hui Xin is trying to clarify is that for typical cargo, and if it's like a small container or even a carton, it's beyond the scope of an e-scooter or e-bike kind of carrying. I gather lah. So I'm not too sure when you range of payload sizes, are you referring to a container, like a container truck? Or are you referring to a small lorry that carries probably 5 or 6 crates kind of stuff? So while we wait for that participant to either raise a hand or type in his question or her questions, I just want to reiterate that whatever the slides that share, the material, and even these recordings will be subsequently put online or shared. So don't worry, it's not, you can still catch up like what you always see on Me Watch or even nowadays MediaCorp have. We can catch up on all this watching this Don't worry. It's not a one-time telecast limited edition kind of stuff.
I think we just received a new question, or at least an update. Is there any specification related to the dimensions or weights of items that is being transported?
Okay, so for this question, our understanding is that for the current active mobility devices in the market, such as e-scooters, right, there's a weight limit that is mentioned in the device specifications itself. For instance, for most of e-scooters, it can only carry a load of up to 100 kg or 100 odd. So it's like the weight of a person plus the weight of the load that the person is carrying shouldn't exceed the 100 kg. As for the dimensions itself, we believe that it's important to ensure that the dimensions ideally remain within our LTA device criteria, which is 700 mm, to ensure safety, so that the devices do not so that the load does not topple off from the devices, and being able to ensure safety at the same time.
Add on. So the question is there any specification related to the dimension or weight of items being transported? I take it to refer to the weight specification of the device we want to measure. So while Hui Xian did say that there are some dimensions which are part of the device criteria, like 725 kg. For LTA's use case, we do encounter devices which are larger than that, or even heavier than that. So sometimes we do capture device as heavy as even 50, 60 kg. So it'll be good if the solution can also take into account these larger dimensions. Yeah, is that clear? Because there's this thing of saying being transported, so we are not very clear what does being transported mean. I think on the question on is there any restrictions on the potential measuring device like size and technology used, I think we find some measurements of accessibility, like you can fit in the car boot, shouldn't have too many external devices like laptops. But other than that, I don't see. I think the key consideration is ease of use and bring around. So we don't really have any restrictions other than that.
Yeah, so we also, as mentioned in our presentation slides earlier, so there are some usability factors that we have mentioned. So maybe you might want to refer to the slides for more details. Yeah. Is there any requirement for payment system integrations to allow for collecting fines directly through the device? Okay, I don't, our answer is no for now, because right now the aim of this device is just, it has to be one that is portable, yet able to measure the device weight, speed, width, in order to ensure the compliance with the device criteria. As for fines, we don't intend to incorporate it for now. Yeah, is there any specific number of measuring accuracy? So I think it should at least go to a couple of decimal places for the measurements that are being collected. And also, as mentioned in the slides, it should be tamper-proof, it should be sufficiently accurate so that it can be used for evidence in court, say if the device is actually used by LTA enforcement or used by the retailers. Yeah. And moving on to the next question. Are there any requirements related to fleet management or human in the loop process? Would you be able to elaborate more on this?
So to skip ahead to answer Daria's question, the slides will be shared with you in a separate email.
Question on whether there's fleet management or human in the loop. I think we do want to clarify what does fleet management mean. But if you say human in the loop, right, I think how we mentioned is that it can be operated portable. So probably someone will need to operate it. So I think that's fine if there's a human in the loop. As for fleet management, I think it maybe if I try to interpret your question is to say that how many devices you need to measure at a time. It could be used to measure device individually. It doesn't mean you one time need to measure 10 devices at the same time. I think that's how I interpret the question.
Okay, I think we have to wrap up our Q&A session already. So just to answer the last one from Daria, to send you an application, should we add the presentation with our solution? I mean, if it is for the application to the SMC challenge, then yes, that will you have to have the presentation with your solution, so that we know like what you're trying to offer. Answers your question. So thanks everyone for joining us for this first problem statement. We will now go into a 5-minute break, and after 5 minutes, we will start our second presentation with the next group. Yeah, thank you.